Starring Rawuh, Hwan-Yeong, Horas. Welcome guys, welcome back to the WSKT TV channel. How are you all? I hope you're all in good health and have a smooth journey. May you have abundant blessings and good health. We're still with you to explain the storyline of this film. This film is set during World War II, when the Allied forces nearly defeated the Nazi German army. An American tank force, led by Sir Sandon, Wardaddy Collier. Then, they are given a very dangerous final mission. They must attack the remnants of the Nazi army in the heart of Germany, using a Sherman tank named Fury. What happens when one tank has to face hundreds of enemy troops alone? And what happens when the 5 men inside must choose to flee or die together? But before we get into the usual storyline, prepare some snacks and a healthy drink, WSKT coffee, to accompany you while you watch this film. Fury is an American war film. It was released in 2014 and stars Brad Pitt, Logan Lerman, and Shia LaBeouf, and was directed by David Ayer. Let's review this film together, titled Fury. Guys, watch it all the way to the end. Don't skip any of the episodes, so you can finish. Let's watch it now. Let's check it out. World War II, April 1945. Amidst the roar of cannons and a sky shrouded in gunpowder smoke, an American battle tank drives through the ruins of a destroyed city. The explosion shakes the earth. Its sound shatters the silence that remains in Europe. This film is more than just a war story. It is a story of courage, camaraderie, and sacrifice, amidst a wave of terror that has swept the world. At that time, American tanks were outclassed in every way. Their weapons were weak. Their thin armor was no match for the far more sophisticated and deadly German armor. Defeat after defeat was a daily occurrence. Yet, despite this, Allied forces continued to penetrate the heart of the fanatical Nazi defenses, deep into German territory. At the same time, Hitler issued his final order. All Germans, men, women, and even children, were to fight to the last drop of their blood, a decision that marked despair and madness. Among the ruins and scorched fields, a man stood atop the wreckage of an enemy tank. In his right hand clutched a knife, in his left, the last shreds of hope. He was Don Wardaddy Collier, a tank commander known for his decisiveness and fearlessness. Their tank, named Fury, was more than just a war vehicle. To them, Fury was their home, a walking grave, and a witness to every river of blood spilled. 5 souls lived inside. They weren't friends, nor were they family, but the bond between them was far deeper than either of them. Don Collier, the leader, a man who had lost too many of the men he protected. His gaze was hard, but behind his eyes hid a wound that time couldn't heal. Boyd Bible Swan, the main gunner, one hand clutched a Bible, the other a rifle. Faith and blood were intertwined in his life. Grady Travis, the bullet maker, rough, dirty, and outspoken, but on the battlefield, he would die first for others. Gordo Garcia, the tank driver, a dry humorist amidst despair, but his eyes always held a deep burden. And finally, Rawuh Picasso, the new kid. Yesterday, he was a typist. Now he sat in the chair of death. Inside Fury, his first day was a nightmare. He was ordered into a tank, still soaked with the crew's blood. Before, the blood hadn't even dried from the mangled bodies. The first mission was imminent. As bullets began to rain down, Rawuh froze. Behind the trees, he saw the enemy, but his finger didn't move on the trigger. Fear consumed his courage, and the consequences were fatal. The enemy attacked. A hail of bullets rang out. The fighting was fierce, and one of Don's commanders was seriously wounded. Unable to bear the pain, the officer chose to take his own life. But as Don gazed at the bodies of the enemies they had killed,
You chop him up! Sergeant!
Another horror was revealed. They were German children, forced to fight. That's why Wowo couldn't shoot. Don was furious, not only because his orders had been ignored, but also because his own heart couldn't bear the reality. Upon arriving at a village, now under American control, Fury was given another daunting task: rescuing a group of American soldiers trapped deep within the front lines. Don and his crew had to lead 4 tanks on a dangerous mission into enemy territory. With a well-thought-out strategy,
Everybody out! Right there, hold that.
An eyeball on that high ground, right.
We're already drifting.
an iron resolve, they set off, navigating the rubble-strewn road, surrounded by death at every turn. For them, this war was no longer about winning or losing, but about remaining human amidst the hell that is war. However, due to Wowo's negligence, they lost their much-respected commander. Leading 4 tanks toward the dangerous location. After receiving instructions and formulating a strategy, Don and his crew prepared. The Fury's engines roared again, followed by the other 3 tanks, which formed a battle formation. The battle broke out, fierce, brutal, and merciless. Explosion after explosion shook the earth.
So they don't stand up and shoot us in the ass! Fuck! They're dead. Why would I shoot them if they're already dead?
Black smoke engulfing the view. But in the end, Don's troops managed to rescue the trapped soldiers, repel the Nazi forces, and secure the area. Despite the victory, their faces remained grim.
Can't do it! Kill me! Kill me! Please!
For Don and his crew, victory on the battlefield never truly felt like that, and disappointment returned. Wow, whoa. The new kid still hesitated to pull the trigger.
Do it, Norman.
He refused to kill, even against an enemy who would kill him without hesitation. Don knew that hesitation could one day kill his entire team. So when a Nazi soldier was captured alive, Don forced Wowo to shoot him. Wowo refused, even kneeling and saying he would rather die than kill a defenseless man. But Don had no time for mercy. He glared, then pressed the gun into Wowo's hand. But the shadow of war continued to follow them. On the roadside, they saw the bodies of Germans hung from poles, victims of the Nazis' own brutality, considered traitors simply for trying to surrender. The sight left the entire Fury crew speechless. Words could not describe such cruelty. As they entered the city, Don saw an old man walking alone among the rubble. Cautiously, he approached and asked where the remaining Nazi troops were. But as soon as the old man pointed the way, a bullet pierced his chest. From behind the window, the Nazis fired mercilessly. Fury immediately returned fire. Explosions shattered the walls of buildings. The sound of automatic weapons pierced the air. Within minutes, the visible Nazi troops were slaughtered. But as they advanced deeper into the city, the Americans let their guard down. From behind the ruins, a surprise attack was launched. Several Allied soldiers died horribly. Some were burned. Others were shot at point-blank range. Don's comrades in other tanks immediately responded with precision fire. A massive explosion shook the city. The last Nazi defenders emerged from hiding, their bodies engulfed in flames, their screams echoing through the rubble. Some American soldiers chose not to fire anymore. They let the Nazis die slowly, consumed by the war they themselves had started. But Rawuh, unable to bear the sight of men being burned alive, finally shot the burning Nazis dead. Not out of hatred, but out of compassion. After the battle, American troops took control of the city. German civilians, unwilling to fight, emerged from their homes with white flags in their hands. Don accepted the surrender calmly. He knew that many of them were simply victims, people forced to fight by the Nazis. But a more heartbreaking scene soon emerged. Young men, even children, were being separated from the adults to be trained as soldiers, and amidst the ruins of the city, Don witnessed the brutality of the SS troops, hanging German children who refused to fight. He stared silently, and then gave the curt order to execute them. With the city under control, the crew finally rested. Gordo, with his characteristic sense of humor, began flirting with a local woman, followed by Grady, who laughed at his every word. The previously tense atmosphere slowly thawed, a brief respite from the hell of war. Meanwhile, Don saw a woman peering through a window. He became suspicious and invited Rawuh to investigate. It turned out the woman was just an ordinary civilian, living with her niece, Emma, a young girl about Rawuh's age. Don spoke softly, asking for hot water and some eggs to cook. At that moment, Rawuh sat at an old piano. His fingers played a melancholy tune, transforming the silence into a solemn one. Emma approached and sang softly. For a moment, the war seemed to have stopped, but the peace was fleeting. Don, in his cold, cruel way, told Rawuh, "If you don't fuck that girl, I will." Emma looked at Don, then lowered her head. Without a word, she took Rawuh's hand and led him into her room. Behind the cracked wall, they shared a warmth born of fear, a brief escape from the burning world. Shortly after, Don and Rawuh sat down to enjoy the breakfast Emma had prepared. But the tranquility was shattered when Grady, Gordo, and Boyd entered the room, joking roughly, disrupting the newly established peace. Emma looked terrified. Rawuh held back her anger, while Don glared at them with a sharp, silencing stare. The atmosphere was tense, until finally an officer arrived with news that a new mission awaited them, and they had to depart immediately. Rawuh, whose heart had begun to soften, asked Emma for a pen so he could write her a letter later. But before he could say goodbye properly, a loud explosion rang out from the sky. German fighter planes suddenly attacked. Bombs fell on the city. Houses collapsed, and fires blazed everywhere. Fury survived with minor injuries, but Emma died, her body thrown into the burning rubble. Grady shook her hard, forcing her to realize, "This is war, young man. This is war." Fury moved back to their next mission location, a strategic intersection. They had to intercept the German forces before they reached the main American line. But en route, they were attacked by a German tank, hiding in the distance. The first enemy shot hit one of the American tanks, a massive explosion. The steel shattered, and lives were lost in an instant. Don quickly
Hit him! On one!
Don quickly formulated his strategy. Gordo drove as fast as he could. Boyd aimed with precision, and Grady prepared his last rounds of ammunition. A second explosion ripped through the air, Fury's bullets hitting their targets. The German tank was destroyed in flames. However, Don's two other tanks were destroyed, their crews dying horribly. Fury was now the only one left. They continued their journey, battling exhaustion and loss. until they finally reached the intersection that would be the starting point of their mission. But just as they were about to prepare, a loud explosion shook the ground. Fury stepped on a landmine. The tank came to a complete stop, its engine shutting down, and Don let out a heavy sigh. They couldn't move. He checked the surroundings to make sure there were no enemies, then ordered Grady to repair the damage. Meanwhile, Rawuh climbed a tree to scout the terrain. But soon, in the distance, a long line of German troops began to move. A fully armed battalion was heading their way. Rawuh ran as fast as he could down the hill after spotting the German battalion, moving toward their position. As soon as he reached the Fury, he immediately reported what he saw. The crew's faces immediately turned tense. No one spoke, but fear was clearly visible in their eyes. Boyd and the others began to prepare to retreat. Their tank was immobilized by a mine, but Don remained standing upright beside the Fury, gazing at its steel frame. To Don, the tank wasn't just a tool of war. It was their home, and a symbol of all the struggles they had endured. Then came the sound of footsteps in the distance. The shadows of German troops began to appear faintly in the moonlight. A long, heavily armed column. The tension reached a fever pitch as a German soldier approached, inspecting the tank closely, and prepared to open the hatch and unleash a hail of bullets that shattered the German formation. A major battle had begun. Inside the Fury, the atmosphere turned into a determined chaos. Bodies fell, but Fury remained standing, the last bastion of courage and sacrifice. The battle at the crossroads turned into a veritable hell. Fury spewed fire from every side, battering the relentless advancing Nazi lines. Explosion after explosion rang out. Dozens of enemies were killed. Nazi vehicles burned, and the night sky turned crimson with the flames of war. But ammunition was running low, their main guns going silent one by one. Don realized there were still ammunition supplies outside the tank, and with almost insane courage, he did so. They climbed out of the armor to retrieve them, bullets flying all around them. But they managed to return with enough ammunition to hold on a little longer. Don was wounded. Blood streamed down his temple, but he remained standing. He and his crew fired their remaining rounds, destroying more enemies, sending the Nazi ranks into disarray, bodies in grey uniforms falling one by one. But there were too many. A loud explosion shook the Fury. An anti-tank round struck the left side, and Grady was killed instantly. Blood-tinged debris filled the cramped space inside the tank. No! Despite the loss of their comrades, they continued to fight, relying only on their handguns and their determination to survive. The battle raged on unabated. The Nazis finally managed to throw a grenade into the Fury. At the last second, Gordo pushed Rawuh away, sacrificing himself so the others could survive. The explosion destroyed the interior of the tank, leaving Boy's embers and pain lingering. He desperately climbed out of the tank to retrieve the enemy's weapon with Rawuh. In desperation, they ran under a hail of bullets. As Boy returned to hand the grenade to Don, a bullet pierced his body. It had been fired by a sniper, hiding in the shadows. Boy's body fell, lifeless. Don was now alone with Rawuh. His body was covered in wounds, but his eyes still burned with the fire of resistance. We knew death was near, but surrender was not an option. AZ troops surrounded the Fury, throwing grenade after grenade. With his remaining strength, Don closed the hatch and ordered Rawuh to hold on. The final grenade exploded inside the tank. Flames and smoke filled the cramped space. Don fell in the place he called home. Amidst the sounds of war and the smell of burning steel, Rawuh managed to escape through the hatch under the tank, slipping under the Fury to hide. The footsteps of a passing Aussie soldier A young man, perhaps Wowo's own, found their hiding place. Their eyes met briefly, but whether out of compassion or battle fatigue, the young soldier turned away, leaving Wowo alive. In the morning, a thin smoke still rose from the wreckage of the Fury. Wowo slowly emerged, gazing around at the lifeless bodies. He re-entered the tank and saw Don's body, still in his seat, his leader, protector, and final symbol of courage. Shortly afterward, the sound of vehicle engines could be heard in the distance. American troops arrived to find Wowo alive among the ruins of battle. They called him a hero. But for Wowo, the victory didn't feel like an honor, but rather a haunting burden. Fury was now an iron tomb, a witness to the courage of 5 souls who refused to retreat. Inside was held not just a war story, but a small history of humanity, of tears, blood, laughter, and prayers never recorded in history books. There, humans endured not to win, but to remain brave. Wowo was a witness. He was a legacy. He was the last surviving Fury. They had all fallen, but their names remain remembered in history, because on the battlefield, victory is not eternal, but their stories. And so the film ended. Thank you. See you in the next film review. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. See you later. Adios amigos. Os amigos.
Dust and thunder, steel and flame, rolling forward through the pain. Brothers bound by blood and fear, 5 souls trapped but never disappear. The world's on fire, we hold the line, no turning back. This is our time. In the smoke, our hearts still burn. One last stand, no one returns. We are Fury, we are the fight. Dust and thunder, steel and flame, rolling forward through the pain. Brothers bound by blood and fear, 5 souls trapped but never disappear. The world's on fire, we hold the line, no turning back. This is our time. In the smoke, our hearts still burn. One last stand, no one returns. We are Fury, we are the fight. In the darkness, we bring the light. Through the sorrow, through the rain, we ride on through blood and pain. Fury rolls till the end of night. We are soldiers born to fight. Echoes scream in the rain, names forgotten, but scars remain. Wardaddy leads, we never fall. Our tanks, our home, our grave, our wall. The sky is burning, but we don't kneel. Brothers in arms, hearts made of steel. If this is hell, we've been before. We'll fight again and ask no more. We are fury, we are the fight. In the darkness, we bring the light. Through the sorrow, through the roid, we ride on through blood and pain. Fury rolls till the end of the night. We are soldiers born to fight. Every shell, every cry, every brother who said goodbye, still we hold till the morning comes. 'Cause freedom's price is paid in